Hello, are you here to debate?
Yes, I am.
All right, what's your name and how old are you?
John, I'm 29.
All right, John, what are you here to debate about?
Uh, I guess I could do pro-choice.
Okay, what about it?
So you're saying all 9 months, like all the way to like right before the woman could be giving birth.
Yeah, the position of pro-choice being all 9 months is we believe that at any point during a pregnancy, a pregnant person can remove they can remove the fetus at any time because it's their body, so they have the overall autonomy to do so. But after 24 weeks, we would say they should have abortions that are non-life threatening to the fetus. So these would be hysterectomy or induction abortions. Both could be done by not killing the fetus. So we just say after 24 weeks, once the fetus has reached sentience, the capacity for sentience, we would just say at that point, don't kill it, but you can still take it out whenever you want.
Okay. So the sentient part, if I can ask, like, what does that mean? The sentient part, or is that?
So sentience would just be your ability to experience specific experiences for the world around you. We value a subjective human experience, at least pro-choicers that align with the same views as I do. So this would be your ability to take in information from the world around you and for your brain to be able to process said information. This happens at about 24 weeks in utero. So that's when we would say, because the capacity for sentience is there, we now grant you some level of moral consideration, and we say you probably shouldn't be killed.
Okay, so I just want to understand this as best I can. So then you deem then the human life only once the consciousness is a part, it can be a part of that being.
No, I would say it's a human and it's alive well before that. But I don't really value just like human life in general. I value sentient human life. So if a human is not sentient, I don't really place any moral consideration on them.
Okay, so then you're just cool with killing anyone that isn't sentient.
Yeah, anybody that's not sentient would already be dead, so I have no problem with with them being killed. Yeah, they're already dead.
Okay. Um, what about like the argument, like, so say you're gonna bake a cake, uh, and the cake before, like so you put the cake together, you have the dough laid out, and then you put it in the oven. Like, within like an hour, it will wind up being a cake. You know what I'm saying? But you do you dispose like eventually, just because it's not a cake right now, it doesn't mean it will be a cake?
No, it will eventually be a cake, but I don't really care
So
about
so then
potential.
why isn't that the same point of view with the baby in the stomach, even at once
It is the
in the
same point
beginning?
of view. The fetus will eventually become a baby if all things work out properly.
So then why isn't it classified as murder then?
Because it's not a baby yet. It's not a person yet. I'm not going to
Well,
say you
exactly,
murdered a
but
person when you murdered someone that's not a person.
no, but it's the same thing with a cake. Like if I stop halfway the cake in the oven,
Then I don't have a
then
cake.
I stopped myself from the cake.
Yeah, but you didn't ruin a cake yet, right? You ruined
No,
ingredients, you
well, you
ruined
ruin
cake
it when
batter,
you take
but
it
you
out
didn't
the
ruin a
oven.
cake. Yeah, but again, you didn't ruin so for instance, if I have the foundation of a house up and I knock down that foundation, I'm not going to say I knocked down a house. I knocked down the foundation
Yeah,
for a
but
house,
it,
sure,
it
but I didn't
would
knock down a house.
it will, if the workers keep coming, like the stomach will keep working on the fetus. It will keep
Yes,
going.
but I
The
don't care
house,
about what
the
something will
foundation will
become.
eventually be a house.
Yeah, I don't care about what something will become. I'm going to treat something like it currently is, right? For
But then,
example,
so we
I'm
can
not
have
going to give hold on, for an example of this, I'm not going to give a 5-year-old alcohol because they will eventually become 21. And I'm not going to treat something that's not a person like a person just because it will eventually become a person.
Okay, so then we're just talking. So then, okay, we're going really into the depths of this. Then you really just don't care about like the murder aspect. Like it doesn't
I
really
wouldn't
matter.
I wouldn't call it murder.
Okay, so but
Murder
then
would be an
why couldn't I like?
unjustified killing. I don't view this as unjustified.
But then you would justify any killing. We're not talking about like evil criminal. I'm just saying any killing. If I just disagree with someone and I kill them, is that okay?
Is the person sentient and alive and not aggressing on you? If so, then yeah, that would be murder.
But why we keep getting off track with the fetus not
Because the
eventually
fetus is
being
not
sentient?
sentient. Because you can't murder something that is not yet sentient. The
But
whole
it,
point of murder
I,
is you're murdering a
I'm
person.
losing each other here. I'm losing you because it will be though.
Okay, then when they become sentient, if I kill them when they are sentient, then it's murder. If I kill it before it's sentient, it's not murder.
Okay, that's fine. All right, let's get off this. Can we go to should the man also agree to the abortion?
No,
No, but the he has the seed though.
I don't care. It's not his body. His body is not the one that is being utilized. The whole crux of my argument is that a person has the bodily autonomy to remove something out of their body if they see fit. The fetus is not in the man's body.
Okay, I well let's set aside like for if a woman will get hurt with the baby and all that. Just from purely on a perspective, I would imagine most the abortions are simply just the woman no longer would want to take or has the means to take care of the child, etc. For that purpose, why isn't the man allowed to have a say in that?
In financially, because the fetus is alive now. The fetus is sentient. It's a person now. He helped make that person. If you want to sit here and say we should let men fully absolve themselves of parental rights, go nuts. I'm not gonna argue against that. I think if somebody doesn't want to be a parent, they should be able to sign over their parental rights. Now they can do this in most states already, but you have to have the mother's agreement. But I think it is not applicable to compare somebody utilizing their bodily autonomy to no longer have something taking their resources to a guy doesn't want to pay for his kid. I think those are just two. I think it's conflating two things that that have no linking.
Okay, okay, that's pretty intense. Okay. Are you willing to go? Are you willing to go farther into the whole cause of why is this even a thing? Like, I heard you earlier about talking about Christians. Um, what's your biggest deal with with the problem like with Christians nowadays?
My big issue with Christians throughout all time would be that Christianity has been used time and time again as a reason for um oppression. Christianity has caused a vast amount of human rights issues across the globe. I would say probably most every organized religion has done this. So I just don't like religion to begin with. It's not that I'm singling out Christianity. It's just the one that I tend to know the most about.
Okay, I know I would like to. I don't know a bunch, but I heard you say before I made the phone call. The reason I did the phone call, I heard you said you had a Christian girl cry before, was you were saying God has a lot of does all the evils in the world and kills and people. that that argument is debunked because God does not create the evil. God has His law, and then we all live as we choose. So just because there's evil in the world doesn't mean God made that. That's He gave us the rules, whether it's to honor thy father, thy mother, just overall, just follow the rules. Do you agree? Do you agree? Do you see that perspective where it wouldn't be God just making people die? That's just the world that we live in.
Uh Few things. One, I there have been direct moments of God directly killing people. Two, I hold God to the same standards he holds us. If God says doing X is immoral and he does X, it's immoral for him too. I don't think he can absolve himself by just saying, "Well, I'm God, so it doesn't count for me." If it's bad to
Could you
do, it
give
should be
me an
bad to
example?
do in general. I'm sorry?
Could you give me an example of that though?
Yeah, when he flooded the entire world to get rid of people that disagreed with him.
Yeah, but we so okay, so like the story of Babel, where people were basically just speaking like almost like how you and me are getting right now, where it's just we're so far disconnected, where we're literally on the trend for the same story of Noah, where it's just getting so far apart, where we're just not no longer connecting in any sort of plane anymore. Like it's just we're going to either be fully just sex, drugs, and just like reckless people, and we're going to go back to
Sounds fun.
animalistic states. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like even the
No.
point of abortion, it's really done because no one's married and they're not prepared to have the child, and they have it out
The
of just
the
pure lust.
highest the highest population of people that get abortion are married women. Married women with already who already have children. They're the ones who get abortions the most.
Okay, I'll take you on that. That's fair.
Hmm. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. I guess if you have time for one more, I would go into the minors deserve gender affirming care.
Yeah. What about it?
So, can you talk about that? Is that I don't know total. I have an idea of it, but maybe you could just help me with. Is that just kids allowing them to change their body if they so choose?
It's saying that anyone under the age of 18 who, for whatever reason, needs gender affirming care, whether that be social gender affirming care, behavioral, medical, whatever type of gender affirming care they need, they should be allowed to receive this based on their developmental stage, because gender affirming care has positive benefits for people who are trans and who may suffer from like severe gender dysphoria.
Okay, that's intense. So you now I understand where your side is with this, but do you at least feel somewhat of the side where, like, if I'm going to come at you with the full point of view that I think it's absolutely crazy. I understand like the tomboy thing and girls could feel like that, but do you like? I just before we, I don't even want to debate about it, but do you see the other side of it at least, or are you just completely on your point of view with just it's okay for them to do it and they want to with no regrets that they might have in the future, but just do you see
if
the other
someone
side where it's just
provided me if someone provided me concrete statistically significant evidence that gender affirming care is a negative, I'd probably change my tune on like how
well,
soon I would allow it, but that
story?
is never there's no evidence even remotely pointing towards that.
But so gender affirming care is like if the children wanted a sex change. Forgive me for not knowing the right words to say. I just don't really
Well, it
understand.
depends on what you mean by sex change, right? Like it
Like
depends on what you mean by
a,
that.
if a girl wanted to cut her breasts and to be a boy.
Yeah, typically I would say that around the age of 15 you can have top surgery if you want to. 15-year-olds
Okay,
seem
but
to
what
be
about
able to understand the repercussions of like chopping off their breasts. We already do like breast augmentation on girls like 15 and 16. Like we'll give them
I know no
breast
I know
implants, so I have no
I know
issue with
about
like
that,
top
but
surgery.
what would you say about like what would you say about people that regret that situation, like that cut off their breasts and now
The
no, or
regret
like they
rate
cut their
for
ears?
top surgery I think is 2%. Let me pull up the actual numbers. Give me 1 second. I have the actual numbers of what the regret rate are for it. But it's like insanely low. Let me pull it up.
Like the if they get hurt from it, or
No, if they regret it, if they regret their decision and want to detransition.
oh, I don't know how you would find those statistics.
We measure regret rate for actually I don't
I
have
mean,
the regret rate for top surgery, but the regret rate for bottom surgery is 2.2%, which is lower than the regret rate for knee surgery. I can pull up a regret rate for
I
top
don't want,
surgery.
with all respect, I don't want to get into statistics because that could
Well,
be
that's how
we
we
can.
determine if
I'd
these
have
things are
to
that's how we would
with
determine these things, right? That's how we would determine whether or not these procedures are
no, I
being
understand,
done
but I would
properly, is
want
if
to
there's a
know
regret rate.
who's filling those out, and like I would want to know who's filling them out, like the timeline. There would have to be a bunch of things I would need to know about, like the actual statistic about it. Like you can't just shoot me one. I'll take your word for it, but with a grain of salt at best.
Okay, interesting.
I know a story where there were people that had their uterus cut. Now they regret that, or they cut their breasts and they can't breastfeed their children, and they regret that.
Yeah, but again, knowing a story is why we take the actual numbers, right? Like I could know 10 people who've detransitioned who hate they like hated going through gender affirming care. Then I could know 1,000 that loved it, right? So we would have to take the statistically significant number here, which is the 1,000 of people, not the 10 people. We can't make decisions
Okay.
for the major. We can't make medical decisions for the larger group of people because the minority of people had a bad time with it.
I agree with. I would be okay with like an adult if they chose that path, because most of us don't really find our paths. I would imagine until much later in life. But for a child, I feel like that's just such. I don't know about kids nowadays. I don't know if they're smarter than I was when I was a kid, but I was just playing video games, so I don't. I don't know how a child would possibly know that that decision would be like that's even harder of a decision than taking student loans. Like that's such an intense decision. Like, how could they know at such a young age that that is the truth? Like how? Like there's even adults now that don't even know about the full Bible. Yet a child is supposed to know if they're a boy or girl. Like how is that even like how could anyone agree to something like that?
Well, it's not them agreeing; it's their parents. But really quickly, I did get a message here. It says guest wants to make claims, but then balks at evidence, intellectually dishonest at worst, or just plain dumb at best. That was on Venmo. Remember, guys, if you send $5 to the Venmo or Cash App, I will read whatever message you send, whether it's pro Jovan or anti Jovan. I will have to read it. Those are just the rules. So yeah, but just to answer what you said, the children aren't the ones making decisions. The decisions are being made via their parents, their doctors, their psychologists, their endocrinologists. Those are the ones making the decisions. And they have to make those decisions, right? When it comes to gender affirming care for minors, especially
So
minors with
okay,
severe wait, really quickly, I want
if
to
I
finish.
went
Hold on, I just want to finish this real quick. When it comes to gender affirming cares for minors, especially minors who have severe gender dysphoria, a parent has a benefit risk analysis to make. Do they risk their child self-harming or possibly unaliving, or do they provide them with gender affirming care? Me personally, I'm going gender affirming care every single time, 100%.
Okay, so we're that deep into this whole. Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, do you? All right, just to go a little off topic here. So you don't fully, you don't. What are your thoughts about just like I know Christians and most religions are a bad example. Like we're a bad example. But what about like the core of like the moral of it? Do you have any respect for it at all?
What is that? I don't know what the question is asking.
Like just like family, making sure like the family, so like the basic premise of the family household is God over Christ, Christ over man, man over woman,
No.
woman over children.
No, I think that's
You
nonsense.
don't believe that?
No.
So you don't believe that a man is supposed to be the head of the household?
No, I think that men and women should be on equal playing fields in their own house. I don't think there should be a head of the household.
So when raising the children, you don't think that the man should have the last say?
No. I don't think either parent should have the last say. I think they should parent together.
Okay.
I also don't really think we need to have nuclear families anymore, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Nuclear families by you're saying like man, woman, and then children.
Yeah, I think the nuclear family is an outdated model that doesn't actually provide stability in community. And instead, we should be doing what we used to do as humans, which was like communally raising. Like we should have a support network of a community that helps raise our
But
youth.
you don't think a mother and a father would be most invested into their children rather than the community?
No, I think everybody should be invested into like we should all be invested into how every child succeeds because that's going
I
to
mean, I'm invested in
tell us the
friends
future
and
of
my neighbors.
our country.
No, I understand, but I'm invested into like my neighbors, like my friends and the people around me. But my children, I will be more highly invested. I I would feel like I would imagine.
Yeah, I think it's just an outdated model, and it wasn't even how we used to do things. The nuclear family is a derivative of like capitalism, right? The nuclear family didn't it isn't how any society pre colonialization used to raise their kids, and then colonialization sort of
Okay,
pushed that into everybody.
But so before, so since capitalism, okay, I don't know exactly the date when capitalism started, but if you can look at like just the amount of wealth and difference that the world has seen through capitalism is so exponential. Uh, what is the serious issue with capitalism?
What is the serious issue with capitalism? It leads to exploitation. It leads to poor conditions. It creates and breeds poverty. Capitalism's pretty bad.
Okay, so my all right. As an example, my father went through capitalism. He worked for Verizon 30 years, retired with a 401k and a pension, and now he's able to retire at 55, and he has a basic income just coming in from his investments through the company that was founded on capitalism. It's Verizon, the cell phone. What do you say to like a situation like that?
Yeah, your dad shouldn't have to work to provide himself his basic needs. We should just provide people the basic needs they need to survive.
But where does that money come from?
Why do we have to have money to generate this? We have the resources. We don't need
Well,
money. We
because
just need,
if I
well,
want,
all we
let's
need is
say
resources and manpower.
but say you grew oranges and I want your oranges. Am I just gonna come
Yeah,
take your oranges
tell
if I
me how
want
many
them?
oranges you need, and if I think that like if you need like 5 oranges a week, here's 5 oranges a week. Have fun, take them. If you need those
Okay, but
oranges to
what if
survive,
somebody
take
else
them.
wants those five? All
I'll
right, say
give
in
them
total
five
you had
oranges as well.
200 oranges.
Do you know how many
But look,
oranges we
so this
produce? Do
model,
you know how many oranges we produce globally? We have enough
you know
oranges
where
that
I'm
if we
going.
can
You
give,
know where I'm going with this. That's where you're coming up. So say you have 200 oranges, and then there's a bunch of people on this line that also want those oranges. How
uh-huh.
do you know to distribute those oranges?
I would give them all oranges. What I don't understand what's confusing. What's
Yeah, but
like
what if one guy needs five and then I want 10 and another guy
I
like
don't care
you
what you
understand what I'm
want.
saying?
I
There
don't care
has
what you want. I don't care what you want.
we're
I care about what you need.
so you know
Wants
look,
mean nothing
we're
to
not
me.
all capitalism we are not all equal. Capitalism basically states that I worked
We
harder,
are all equal.
I earned more, aka I deserved more.
We are all equal.
You don't agree with that?
No, I agree. I don't
How
agree that we should not
but
be
how
all
are
we
we
should not be
how are
equal.
we how are we all equal if someone would sit on the couch all day and then one guy is out there working all and then he has two jobs? How is that guy equal to the guy on the couch?
You shouldn't have to work all day with two jobs. That's how. You should not be forced
Yeah,
to
but
have to work all day with two
it
jobs to
makes
feed
you a
yourself.
better
That's
person.
capitalism.
It makes you a better. You're sharper.
How?
You're stronger physically. You're more attractive.
I don't need to work a
I
job
mean,
to be stronger physically. I can just like go outside and take a walk. But also, I don't care
no
what somebody
way. I
looks
mean,
like physically. The way somebody looks physically does not tell me what their worth is as a human being. That's nonsense.
I'm not saying the look, but I'm saying you will be. You can't. Come on. You can't say someone that sits on the couch could be compared to someone that's working constantly and just like how is that equal? Like,
both of them have equal value as humans. Yes.
yeah, equal
Are
value
we
as
not
humans.
all created in God's image? Are we not
No, no.
all equal under the eyes of the
Now
Lord?
we're on capital. We're on capital. We are all equal in human rights, but in the marketplace,
I don't.
if I
That's
were
the
to go into
difference.
a
There
hospital,
shouldn't be. But this is the problem. I don't think there should be a marketplace. I'm a
but
communist.
that
We
makes
should
no
not
sense.
have a market.
So okay, all right, hold on. Let me help you out here. If I were to
Uh-huh.
walk into two people, me and this other guy walked into a hospital, okay? Then somebody came in with a brain problem and they need surgery. The other guy's a doctor. I'm just a regular person. In the marketplace, I would imagine that person that's on the stretcher with the brain problem would want the doctor rather than me, correct?
Well, yeah, he would need it more than you.
Exactly. That is the marketplace. So he will
No,
choose him.
that's just giving people their needs. So because he needs something more than you, we would provide his need first, then provide your need.
Look, man, you're not. So I understand in this perfect world where everyone just contributes but people don't become Let me tell you something. People don't become I have good friends that are doctors. They don't become doctors just because they want to help people. They do it so they want fast cars, big houses,
Let me tell you
and
right now,
hot
I've never
women.
met a
Okay,
doctor who became a doctor to be rich. I've never met a doctor that's done that. Every doctor I have met has done
that
it because they've had a calling for healthcare and like helping people was their calling. I've never met a doctor who's like, I just want to be a doctor so I can fuck bitches, get money. Never seen that before.
I mean, I have a close friend who's an anesthesiologist, and he's making almost 350 a year, and that's exactly what he did it for.
Great. And I've known multiple people that are doctors that didn't. This is why we kind of don't use anecdotal evidence to define a rule, right?
But
Because for
what
every
will tell
doctor
you,
you can provide me that does this, I can provide you a doctor that doesn't.
yeah, but I mean, he's a close friend of mine. I'm telling you, someone that's close with you, they'll tell you the truth of it, the very bare to the core of the soul of what it is. Like,
Yeah, here we go. We did a survey on American physicians. This is the American Medical Association. 3/4 of medical students, residents, and physicians said that helping people is a top motivator for pursuing their career. And 61% of all respondents said they would encourage others to enter the field of medicine. So 3/4 of
okay,
people
so
said
then
that
if
they
I
did
were
it
to
to help
take,
people.
so if I were to take away their salaries, and we would have all equal salary, the average income 50,000, you
We
think
wouldn't have
those people would
there.
still go through
Wait,
8 years of grad
so
school and
again,
then going through?
so just really quickly, under a society, under a communist society, like one that I would preach, there would be no income. So nobody would be making any money because there's no money. You don't your value to society is not based upon the amount of money you earn.
Tell me one communist society that has worked. I mean, go there.
There's never been a communist society.
There's never been one.
No.
So then, isn't that enough proof?
No. There's also never been
What?
flying cars. That doesn't mean we can't eventually figure it out. There was never airplanes until the Wright brothers figured
No,
out how to fly.
no,
What?
no.
Just
Slow
because
down,
there
slow
has
down.
never, just because something has not been implemented doesn't mean it wouldn't work, right? It just means it hasn't been
Yeah.
implemented yet.
Okay. How about this? Why isn't there why isn't there women that run country? Like, why isn't there? You know, they say about the patriarchy.
Matriarchs? There are matriarchs.
Yeah, but give me one matriarchy in all of society in history. Let's go back. Let's go back a little bit, like maybe 2,000, 3,000 years. Give me one matriarchy society that has survived.
Give you one yeah, there are still matriarchal societies that exist today. What are you talking about? That have existed. What? Is this a joke?
I understand one thing for like the German prime minister. One thing for a prime minister, but most men would run. There's not been a single matriarchy that has worked. A patriarchy is the basic
What do you
one that
define as
everyone has
working?
been
What
on.
do you? I don't know. First of all, I don't know why we're on patriarchy, but what do you define as working?
What do you mean as what is working?
Actually, hold on real quick. I did get another message here. It says 0 here. I was making 6 figures in marketing. I took a massive pay cut to be a civil servant because I wanted to ... help people. So yeah, shout out to 0 for that. Venmo, remember, if you send $5 to the Venmo or Cash App, I will read whatever message you say. But yeah, I'm very confused. What is your definition of working? Like, how do you
So
measure a successful society?
The point I was getting to is that just like a communist society has never existed. Like there's a reason for that. I'm sure it's been tried, but it's never worked. Like the same thing with a matriarchy. I'm sure it's been tried, but it's never worked.
There are matriarchies that still currently exist today.
Like which one?
The Kasi people, the Bribri people, the Mining Gabu people. I don't know how to pronounce that. The Nubians are a matriarchal society. Like, we have matriarchal societies that still exist.
I'm talking about like top 10 country, like a top 10.
Wait, again, this is
the
issue. I asked you specifically for what you view as a country success. Like, what are your metrics? And you didn't give them.
I mean, that should be so obvious. What do you mean? Like the comfort of living, just like overall, we all have good morals. I mean, just
wait. Comfort of living.
Overall,
wait. Comfort of living is so subjective. What do you mean? That's a completely subjective thing. There are people who live in Antarctica who love it, right?
Okay, so
like,
okay,
this
so
is
if
what?
So like, all right, I wanted to get food. Like, if I wanted to get food right now and I was hungry, I'd go right down the block and I'd go into a store and pick up some food. That's what I'm talking about. Like, it just with the.
These aren't what, again. This isn't you're basing the success of a country on a capitalist metric. Just because a country doesn't have a grocery store does not mean the country isn't like succeeding. It just means they don't have a grocery store. They may get their food another way, right? There may be countries that are like hunter-gatherer societies. They don't use a grocery store. They don't need a grocery store, right? This is so
But
weird.
can those societies even allow for a big population?
Probably not in their current setup. What's that have
That's
to
what
do
I'm
with
saying,
anything?
my guy.
What does this
At
have
a
to do with
they're in
anything?
level one. They're level
Wait,
one. We're at like
none
level
of this
100.
has to do with the point that I've brought up. This is just kind of a
I'm
nonsensical
just
like
saying, capitalism has allowed us to have this because it's so we can all have more. Like it's just everyone is allowed to live. If we were still in a hunter gatherer, the basic thing, then that means there has to be one alpha male, like a gorilla pack, and this guy
wait,
will basically kill.
capitalism doesn't necessarily mean that we are succeeding when it comes to our thing just because we have large grocery stores. During like the height of the Soviet Union in the like 70s to 80s, the Soviet Union, which was a socialist country, were eating more nutritious diets than us while having the same caloric intake as us. And their diets were more nutritious. They weren't capitalists, but they were eating better than we were.
Then why did Stalin? Okay, all right, I get you. But then why did Stalin feel the need to kill all the farmers?
Stalin didn't kill all the farmers.
Yes, he did. That's how he committed genocide. He killed
No,
all the people
Stalin
that
didn't kill all the
made the food,
farmers.
and that's how the genocide happened.
No, that's okay. No, first of all, Stalin didn't kill
All right,
all
look
the
into that.
farmers. I
Then look
have,
into it.
homie. Do you know how researched I am on capitalism,
Oh, so
socialism,
then
the
how did
USSR?
Stalin, how did that start?
First of all,
What did Stalin?
I need you to understand this. Stalin was dead for years by the time I'm talking about, which is the 70s and 80s. Stalin had already been dead for years. He died in the 50s. So Stalin has nothing to do with Soviet Russia I'm talking about. That's just point one.
But
Point two, okay. What Stalin did is he would unalive people or throw people into the gulag who weren't on the side of socialism, right? He would toss them. Like that's his version of that's what Stalin, like that's Stalinism. Like if you were against the state apparatus, you were going. Like that's what Stalinism was. I didn't say I'm a Stalinist. All I'm pointing out to you is that this is a socialist country that was eating and surviving, that was eating diets that were as caloric as ours, but more nutritious than ours. So this idea that capitalism is the only way that we can have good food and it's just nonsense. But I do want to read. I have a couple more messages here. First message is, I am literally from the Seychelles, which is a matriarchal society, works there, most developed country in Africa. I probably pronounced that wrong, but I apologize. Next one is, your lack of acknowledgement and respect for disabled people is appalling. We are all equal human beings regardless of job or income. Communism is from each according to their ability, to each according to their need, and is the virtuous stance if you claim to love people. All right.
So with that, I agree we're all equal, but in the marketplace we are not equal.
Yeah, this is why we don't think there should be a marketplace. This is why communists are against the marketplace.
If I owned a company and I wanted to hire someone to do my bookkeeping, I'm going to hire someone that's more experienced, better suited.
If there's no marketplace, why would you have bookkeeping? Actually, if there's no marketplace, why would you have a company? If there's no marketplace, you wouldn't have a company because there's no market. There's no marketplace. You wouldn't have a company. Companies don't exist under communism.
It's a marketplace. There was even a marketplace back in time. The marketplace has always been around. There has to be a marketplace.
No, there doesn't. Because even pre-capitalism, when we were under a feudalist or autocratic system, they still used money as a placement of value. Damn, it's crazy. It's crazy. Here I am about to answer you. That's crazy. Do I have a car?
Do you have a car?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know how Henry Ford made cars?
No, I don't know how Henry Ford made cars.
You got to look into that stuff before you go so deep into all this, bro. It's just that you're going too far. The reason that we have all this is because of a marketplace.
Homie, I don't give a fuck if we have cars. I would trade every single car to replace with walkable cities and walkable communities. Fuck cars. The only reason we have cars is because we spread everything out so far, which is capitalism, instead of keeping everything local so that everybody's within walking distance of all the things they need.
But all right, so like, okay, so when they didn't have cars, like in Rome, everyone would walk, right? But then they had the horses that would take whoever had the privilege of having a horse. It's just proven that it's just more, it's better. The city gets designed better when there's easier transportation across.
Wait, I don't deny that we should have ease of transportation. So that would be our reason to create systems of public transport, right? It's not about us needing individual cars because we just want them. It's about what does the society need? We don't need cars. What we need is safe, reliable transportation, which we don't have in our country because of capitalism. We don't have a light rail in this country, right? Which every major developed country has. We already know that the technology exists. China and Japan have light rails that work fucking immensely, right? We can have high speed light rails to get us to and from places in this country in record time, but we don't have them because the railroad industry consistently lobbies politics because they want to consistently make money on train travel, on train transportation. Like, capitalism doesn't work. This is like example 1 of 1,000.
Okay, all right, I understand. So I understand what you're saying. Okay, I get it. But I can also come back at you with China having so much money is since the time of capitalism.
I didn't make a claim
So they
that
have their
China
light rails.
wasn't
They have all the.
capitalist. China is capitalist. What I'm saying is that when you have
No,
capitalism,
it's not.
no, China is capitalist. China is a capitalist country.
So they could vote for they
Capitalism has nothing
they
to do
don't
with
change their.
voting. Capitalism isn't about voting. Well, kind of. But capitalism is just an economic system. It's not a political system.
Yeah, but they
China
were only
has
capitalist until when
has a
we started
privatized.
capitalism.
What?
Like they were never really They were always communist. They were always about a monarchy. They had the same type of system for like 5,000 years. They only started capitalism because they saw how wealthy America was doing the system.
Is this China is capitalist? There are multiple reasons why, if you want to delve into like the history of China. Predominantly it comes from like infiltration from capitalists and people who wanted to like.
Here we go. The word, like, look at the word you use, infiltration. You
Yes,
think they see it as infiltration?
every single socialist country, every single one that has ever existed has had capitalists either try to overthrow their government, or destroy their markets so that capitalism could flourish in that country. Every single one.
That's so vague. That's so
There's
vague.
not a single
How
socialist
does
country that
it grow a
failed due
government?
to its own merits. There's not a single one.
No, that's so vague. I mean, then
It's
okay,
not,
then
but
why did Russia put it?
I did get a cash app of $20, which means I have to boot you and move on to the next person. So everybody shout out K-Space. Shout out K-Space. Remember, guys, for $20, I will boot any guest that is currently in the live. All you got to do is send $20, but it does have to be after 20 minutes of talking to the guest. I won't do it until after 20 minutes.